So thank you for tuning in and for investing your time in following our conversation today. I'm Marianne van Zyl from Switch On to Life, and today I'm chatting with Ross Van Niekerk. So let me introduce you. Ross Van Niekerk, he's a pastor, he's a leader, he's a husband, he's a father, he's a friend. And yeah, I just want to honor him for the leader and the friend he is, and for the inspiration about life and relationships that he brings in my life, but also the people that he is around. So yeah, I invited him to speak around the topic of relentless living, and so that's what our conversation is about today. So welcome.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of your practice.
Wow. Okay. Thanks. So if we can start around the topic of relentless, what would you say? How would you define living relentlessly?
For me, living relentlessly means living passionately. So it means living from your heart, living from the core of your being, and also living with endurance. Life is never the same. We have ups and downs in every aspect of life. So for me, it means living enduringly, living to not give up, to not give in, and to not sway away. But what I like about the relentlessly, it speaks to me about the passion of the ocean waves that just does not stop, the unceasing movement in the same direction. So living relentlessly for me means living enduringly, passionately, intentionally in the same direction. And intentionally, relentlessly is the same thing for me. I'm going in a direction from the conviction of my heart. So that's what it means for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to, I'm so excited for the wisdom and the insights that you can share with us. And for anybody that feels the need to be encouraged or inspired and motivated in order for them to switch on to their life and living the ideal life that they are created to have. So thanks for that. That metaphor, that picture of a wave is just so powerful. And so tell us a little bit about your story in getting to living life relentlessly.
As you heard, I'm a pastor. I think there are a few examples in our lives that really inspire us. People that you want to follow after, that you want to run after. You see something about their intentionality or their passion or direction, their pursuit in life, and you want to follow after. So I've had a few people in my life that really inspired me, that I thought, wow, I want to follow after you. But I think if there's one person, and it's really something true for me, one person that I really want to follow after is the way in which Paul the missionary followed Jesus.
Sure.
You know, just his pursuit or his call in life. He had a massive encounter with God, and you know, places in the Bible where he speaks about, for me to live is Christ, to die is gain. Places in the Bible where he speaks about, you know, about the floggings and the beatings, the shipwreck, twice stoned. You know, places that he records the calamities in his life.
Sure.
And then he would write, and these light afflictions,
Sure.
in Corinthians, these light afflictions does not compare to the glory. You know, and that's what the author of Hebrew as well says. He says that we should follow in the likeness of Christ, who really, you know, suffered pain and suffering, but he kept his eye on the prize, the reward. So part of my story of growing in intentional living, or passionate living, enduring living, relentless life, to really not give up, is really that example that Paul says he saw in Jesus, that I see in Jesus, but to really pursue that. So a few moments in my life I had encounters with the Lord that I really just felt I had a meeting, a significant meeting, God moments. And sometimes, you know, it comes in a conversation with a person, it comes in listening to something, reading, or just reflecting in prayer. And I'd have these moments, and I would take a note of these moments. Behind you is a wall of a few significant images that I carry in my heart, that I put up there as a daily reminder of what the Lord says I'm going to do, or where I'm going to in my life. where something he says about me as a person, this is who I am, or that's what I am going to do.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what Paul says. He says, none of these things matter. It doesn't compare to the glory which is coming.
Sure.
So passionate living is hopeful living, relentless living.
So what is interesting for me is that, how Paul had this hope before him, and that caused him to be able to continue.
Yeah.
Like you say, like a wave, intentionally knowing that even though it's difficult now, that there is a place I'm heading towards, so that helps one to align to an intent.
Yes.
Of this is why. There's a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Like I love that metaphor where waves don't stop. Whether the winds are strong or whether it's slow, or it just never stops. So I love that. I love that unceasing hope.
And the high tide, low tide, the waves don't stop.
Yes.
Energy or success or fullness of life might feel different at times, but the waves never stop. Yeah, I love that image.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I came about to really to live focused, in a sense, intentional.
Yeah.
A relentless pursuit of that which I feel God has said about me, or that which I must accomplish. A sense of duty.
Sure.
I spent quite a number of formative years in the Air Force, more than 10 years in the Air Force, and so something about duty and discipline was like drilled into me, literally drilled into me. And just where you do what you need to do because it's the right thing to do, but not an aimless right thing to do, because this is the person that it shapes me to become. And through those 10 years, I think it really had an impact on me to understand that nothing in life comes easily, but the reward is really worth the effort. There is something about sowing and reaping, something about if I pursue this and endure in this direction, there really is. So those years were really formative in every aspect of my life. Duty, discipline, and devotion. Those are the keys to endurance, to being relentless, I think.
Sure.
Is if you keep your love in the same direction, if you keep your disciplines, your activities in the same direction, and a sense of duty, a sense of this is what I ought to do.
Wow.
It really is a key.
So it's a love, it's a discipline, it's a duty.
Duty, devotion, discipline.
Knowing where I'm going. Okay, devotion, duty, discipline. Wow, that's awesome. Yes. Okay, sorry.
No. So these images, literally images or words, that I just intentionally every single day just reflect about, write them on the wall. It gives direction to, and what I like about it, it's not just what I'm doing. I understand that I'm becoming someone that has a certain influence in life, and that God really called me to be someone, to become someone. I know that's a passion for you as well.
Yes.
Not just to act, to produce stuff, but to become a specific type of person that does that for me. Yeah.
Cool. You mentioned a few things that shaped you. You mentioned specifically the Air Force that shaped you with regards to discipline and duty. With regards to the devotion, what do you feel have shaped you in those areas?
The strongest influence in my loves, the things, the shaping of my heart, is the community of people. Community shape. I love what others love. I desire according to the other. James Ellison wrote a book about that, to desire according to the other. We always speak about it in a negative sense, the covetousness, to not love what other, not to fall in love with someone else's wife or someone else's, not to desire someone else's job or life.
Yes.
And the reason is because we are prone to do that.
Yeah.
We are prone to love what others love. So, just using that in the good sense, to position myself intentionally with people who love what I admire.
Sure.
I want to love what you love, because you are directed by your passions in your heart. Everything. So that's why I said the relentless also means to live from the heart.
Yes.
Enduring courageously, to live from the center of my being.
Sure.
I'm pulled in by my affections, and that shapes my activities.
Yeah.
So to position yourself with people that that you love what they love.
Sure.
So obviously what you love is shown in the things that you do, the things that you desire, dream about, talk about.
Yeah.
So I position myself with people that really love to serve others, and that really love to give back, to really love to serve God in a practical sense. So that's, I position myself with people like that. Sure. And sometimes it's difficult to not, we recently went on holiday, and in the Gemsbok Park, Kalahari Gemsbok Park, and we met people there, and they were so attractive. We were a big group of friends that went up with our families, and this couple was so attracted to us from the first moment. So they eventually just spent a few days with us as well, camping, but they were with us, and they just said they live in a far off place in the Eastern Cape on a farm, so their community options are really small. And this is what I love about what you're doing here, about your podcast, about the material that you position, because you can be influenced by someone that you can't necessarily have coffee with every day. But just because I spend time and I receive and I listen to you, your loves rub off on me. Your devotion to something. And even the practices. I will eventually become like you. The more I spend time with you, I will become like you.
Sure. So what I'm hearing, the devotion thing, is how you grow in the desires or the passion that you have in your heart, that connects with that sense of duty almost,
Yes, absolutely.
That devotions is that the more you spend or spend time around people that has the same kind or flavor of devotions, the more you see how to develop it, the more it shapes within your own understanding of what it is about serving others, or what it is about helping others. Because I heard you mention those two things as the devotion of your heart, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
really and that the serving and the helping of others. The more you're spending time with others doing that as well, you gain insight and in how somebody else is doing that, and just from knowing that, I can imagine that is a very like a almost. Taking the information and taking away the things that doesn't work, but keeping what does work. I get that is how you're quite efficient in that way. I can see how your mind is working like that. And I can imagine that really makes you become almost like an expert in that area. That's a good way of learning and growing in a certain area, is to see how does other people do it, what's working from that for you, what do you want to take for yourself and learn from that, to execute it in a different way. So I really, that's cool. It's interesting way of thinking about it.
There's something I haven't mentioned when it comes to living relentlessly.
Yes.
I think for me, key in my life, I had a few moments I mentioned earlier where I had real God moments in my life, real moments of affirmation and approval from God, specifically acceptance. Because sometimes I, as a pastor and as a friend, I see people and I talk to people who are constantly in a sense of seeking something to validate, to secure, to approve. There's a constant seeking and a longing because there's a sense of emptiness. And I think every human being is born like that. But for me, living relentlessly and passionately lives from an overflow. It's not a striving to be accepted or to find an applause or approval by someone. It's like the ocean doesn't need an approval; it just keeps on going. It's going to do that. It doesn't need the land. In a sense, it just spills over of its fullness. And for me, that's something important. Is the concept of living from an overflow of acceptance. Finding wholeness in heart. The more whole of heart, the more passionately the more relentlessly I can live from the heart. So, if I may, what would you say? You mentioned like the moments that you had with God, that you really felt that He's speaking to you with regards to your acceptance and purpose. So,
if you want to, if to share, how did that help you heal, find acceptance in order for you to now be at a place where you're be able to be in a place of overflow? What made you top up, if I can say it almost like that?
It's
top up that whole, that need of, like the human being, as you say, we are all in need of acceptance and wanting that affirmation. Tell a little bit about how did that come about for you?
Not necessarily that was the key reason. We lost our dad at a young age, 3 boys. My mom was a saint.
Sure.
We lost our dad at a young age.
Yes.
He passed away unexpectedly. I was really young, like 6 years old.
Sure.
And I think that's where we all took a bit of a knock, obviously, understandably. Mom remarried many years later with a great man.
Yeah.
But somehow those gap years had a deep impact on me, just in terms of, am I good enough?
Yeah.
Do I have approval? Does someone love? Am I going to make it? Do I have what it takes? The man question. So I lived with that in a sense, and at church a few times we had encounters where we spoke and prayed about. But I think for me, the thing that really helped me was I just decided that I don't want to live like this. Sure. I don't want to be uncertain anymore. I don't want to. It's not a good way to live. No one likes living like that. So I don't know if it was just the grace of God, but I just intentionally pursued the face of God in prayer, in books, in music. I remember the evening it sort of culminated was a stormy evening in Kerboomstrand, literally storming outside, and I was just going at it with God. It was a issue in my life, and I was just said, I'm tired of this. And it was in a sense, it was a relentless pursuit of God for that one thing.
Wow.
That sort of, I'm not going to go. Like Jacob, I wrestled until I had a heart change.
Sure.
Just a sense of, and it was no flashing lights or anything like that. It was just the storm ceased on the inside. There was a emptiness that was satisfied.
Sure. And
it had a tremendous impact on my life. It was a spiritual encounter, a sense of identity.
Yeah.
And in the weeks and months after that, it changed my drive. My drive changed to not being needy of approval anymore, of not wanting everyone to clap hands, or being okay with the fact that people really don't like me.
Sure.
And I'm happy with that. It's never like a pleasant thing, but I don't feel I am a loser because someone else doesn't like me. There's identity, a sense of identity.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we all face that, where we don't have control over the situations that we find ourselves in, or the environment that might be negative, or other people's behavior, and we all understand that people behave out of a place of their own understanding, not necessarily from who the other person is. But it's difficult for us to remember that when that person's behavior hurt us or makes us feel rejected, etc. And I do believe that is such a key point for every person to realize and to have that sense of acceptance of who I am, no matter.
Yeah.
To really relentlessly seek that, because for every person that's going to be a different journey.
Absolutely.
To find that place in their heart where that hole is filled, as you say, so that they know who they are. And they don't seek it. Obviously, it remains something like Jacob always had this, deficit, and so it was always this hurtful situation. So it's not something we forget, but it's good because it makes us remember. We don't arrive ever, but it's something we remember that. Yes, this behavior might hurt me because it's rejection, yet my identity and my worth does not reside on somebody else's behavior. But it's a choice, and every day it's a choice, and with every interaction it's a choice. But it starts with that moments where it's solidified that this is to where I'm taking that lie. I'm taking it to this truth every time that lie wants to talk and tell me that I'm not good enough, and and etc. Whatever that talk tells, each one has got something different that it talks to us. So that's profound. Thank you, Ross,
you're
for
good
sharing.
with this, Marianne. But
Sure.
you said something about knowing who you are as a key.
Yes.
And in my own head, I sometimes differentiate between who I am and what I am.
Sure.
And the what obviously speaks to what I am good at.
Yes.
My shape, my significance, and in discovering both the who and the what was really helpful for me.
Wow.
I
That's
am a
cool
beloved
to put
son
it
of
like
God.
that.
I'm like
Yes.
that. But also relentlessly, for me to live relentlessly means I know what I am and what I'm not.
Sure.
I know and I'm
Absolutely.
comfortable
Yes.
with areas where
Yeah.
I really am not good with,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with
Yes.
not being good with that. But I'm thoroughly aware with what I'm gifted with. I had a wrestle recently again.
Yeah.
In the recent, we have this every now and then about areas where in my working, in my vocation, I am not as good as I want to be. So then I obviously have conversations with God and I wrestle with God about that. And I just clearly heard the Lord again say to me very recently, He said, Ross, stop focusing on what you are not and focus on what I've made you. Stop focusing on what you don't have, focus on what I have given.
Wow.
And it was so significant because when it comes to relentless pursuing, I am not called to everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm happy to not. People may demand it. It's something profound in the life of Jesus. It's really amazing. You always see him, just after his first miracle in the house, Peter's house, he's up praying in the mountain and the disciples run to him and they say to him, Jesus, Jesus, everyone's looking for you. And what Peter's saying is, my house is full of demon-possessed crazy people. And then Jesus looked at them and he said, I didn't come for these people only. Let's go on to the next town. So not be need-driven. And what was something? So Jesus relentlessly pursued the will of the Father.
Yeah, but that focus, just not be so dragged everywhere, but having a single purpose and understanding when what needs to take place.
Peace it brings.
Yes,
the peace it brings to remind yourself that
yes.
this is what I'm gifted for and this is what I'm good at.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
That is my relentless pursuit. I'm splashing my waves on the ocean, on the seashore, not in the sky. It's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So if one thinks of today and to the future, how would you say, how do you maintain this understanding of living life relentlessly? How do you maintain it?
I mentioned to you earlier the images that I carry with me every day. That's a discipline that every single day. I'm really hope driven. I'm someone that for relentless living you have to confidently hold on to the promises and the assurance of what God has made me to be and what God has called me to be. And the promises, the reward for that. Promises for reward is what carries one through everything in life. Difficult test times, difficult marathons, and difficult work or relational things. The expectation of good. So it helps me. So to remind myself daily, it's not just an occasional thing, but daily of this is what God has said to me. And this is where I'm going to. It really clarifies in my intention, relentless living in this direction. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm called for. It immediately also makes the less important in my head to pursue that. So it's a daily activity. Friendships, the gathering of people that are really good. And sometimes it's a simple decision among friends to say, guys, are we going to do this? Let's form a community. The Daniel and his friends community that says, okay, we in this hostile environment, let's do what we're called to do. Let's make the best of this. So the friendships and that, and just to deal with the difficulties and the failures, and the pain. Do not let it go away. In conversations, in prayer, to deal with my own failure, to deal with the disappointments of other people around me. To actually close every day or every season, just to say, okay, this book I'm going to close now. I've dealt with it. There's no regrets. There's no bitterness. Let's move on. Just failure. For me personally, what I had to deal with in life is just my failures. So just to deal with that as well,
Yeah.
and to continue to
Absolutely.
forgive myself and love myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it speaks to that sense, that knowing of what, I am an accepted son of God.
Absolutely.
In your
Absolutely.
core and in your identity.
Absolutely.
So it speaks again to that lack of neediness. So when one makes a mistake and that failure happens, one can remind yourself, okay, but remember, this does not define me. This does not define who I am and who I'm going to be. But it's something I can do differently, and it makes me grow and learn. But you wanted to share something.
No, just about the heart. It speaks to me about the living
Yes.
wholeheartedly,
Yes.
because relentless living is wholehearted living. So
Yeah.
I have to have a whole heart and a confidence in who I am and who I'm not. You have to.
Yes.
So failure, you have to deal with failure.
And what I love about the hope
Yes.
that you just spoke about as well, that also speaks a little bit to the purpose that you have. But when failure happens and when hurts happen, and that we don't become bitter, or that we don't just allow it in our life and let it simmer and let it feed into the growth that we have worked so hard for, but that we, as you say, that we deal with it, that you deal with it, that you close off that chapter, that you work through it, that the bitterness and the anger cannot remain, because those things will come and steal from the hope you have. So in dealing with the failure and the and the difficulties in situations or in relationships, what would you say would be your advice, or how do you deal with that? If you want to share with us.
No, it's a good one. I start off with the knowledge that I am a beloved son of God. So I stand up as a start. So so in my prayer life, I started with my prayer life. So my prayer life is always to God, my Father who loves me.
Sure.
God who's King of all, Lord of all, in control of everything, who's aware of everything.
Sure.
So just in prayer, reminding myself of who I am in relation to this awesome, loving God. So it brings security, it brings steadfastness, it brings company.
Yeah.
I'm not alone.
Sure.
And then just to literally deal with the soberness of the situation.
Yeah.
Psalm 43 is such a powerful prayer when it comes to that.
Sure.
Starting with God and just saying, Lord, this is what's happening. This is the facts. These are the facts according to my perspective. Listing it out.
Yes.
This is what happened. This is how I feel. Just a bluntly doing that. Communal prayer like that is extremely helpful. Sometimes praying with someone like that.
Yeah.
And then just David in verse 2, he just says, this is how I feel about it.
Sure.
I feel angry. I feel disappointed. I feel ashamed. He just lists his emotions, and just to verbalize emotions in conversation with God and with someone else is extremely helpful.
Yes.
To not bottle it up.
Yes, very healthy.
And I'm a man and I'm saying that, eh? It's
yes,
amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So that, and then in the light of that, just to ask God's perspective. He said, Lord, verse 3, send me your light, send me your truth. Just perspective. What is it? How do you see the situation? Because from where I'm standing, this is quite bad.
Yeah.
But when you look to God, the eternal God, the Almighty God, God the gracious, God who loves me and who cares for me, God who has good plans.
Yeah.
So saying to him, God, I can't see that now.
Yes.
What do you see?
Yes.
And just to wait on God for images or direction, and sometimes it doesn't come in a moment.
Yes.
And then lastly, David just deals with his soul. He says, I know I will see the goodness of God. And then he just deals with his soul and he says, okay, Ross, so why are you so cast down within me?
Yeah.
Come on, wake up. Just a bit of self-talk.
Sure.
Just to say, hey, I'm not going to live like a victim. I'm not going to live like a failure.
Wow.
God has a purpose for me. You can take me out anytime. But up until that time, I'm going to live relentlessly. I'm going to do what he called me to do.
Sure.
So the examples and the stories in the Bible are very encouraging. Every story in the Bible is of a crisis, but someone in pursuit.
Absolutely.
And mostly it's God's grace in the story. Like,
Yeah.
how does God help a person through it? So
Yeah.
that's how I deal with it.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Ross. That's so encouraging. And I love that, because sometimes people don't always view the Bible like that. And coming from you, being a pastor and having an extensive knowledge, which I also respect and honor, it's so enlightening to start reading the Bible in a way that you will find lessons in it, or inspiration, or guidelines as to what to do with your emotions, what to do in turmoil, what to do with other people's strange behavior, or what to do with your lack of understanding, or so that's such a good tool, and I can see that is really a strong habit in your life. So in that maintaining Relentless, just a last question perhaps, is there anything else that you would say is a real strong habit for you that keeps you on that intentionality, relentless living? Is there any other habit, would you say?
I started off saying duty, discipline, devotion.
Yes.
Yeah? So you heard my disciplines of prayer, of community.
Yes, cool.
There are other things that I do on it. We are a bunch of friends who exercise. Everyone mocks the CrossFit thing, but we do. We don't do CrossFit, we do CrossFit. But we do.
Very funny.
And it's a simple habit.
Wow.
It is a simple. So my family has habits, but this is just a fitness habit.
Yeah.
Of just actually doing what is needed.
Sure.
We exercise hard 3 times a week.
Wow.
As a group of friends together, so I do very few things in isolation. I have my habitual time in isolation, but community is key to endurance.
Sure.
Just find or join a community that is useful.
Wow.
But doing this practical endurance exercises, things like that, it cultivates in me. So it's something I obviously had from the Air Force days, but it cultivates in me the discipline of pushing through.
Sure.
It's a very practical discipline, but it's very spiritual, because my spirit has to decide that my body says he wants to rather sleep in this morning at 5, but I'm not going to sleep in.
There we go.
So it's a simple habit. It's things that and maybe the key is not for everyone in terms of exercise in this way.
Yeah.
But finding something that you do because you train yourself to endure.
Wow.
Yeah, to finish what you start.
Wow, that's awesome. That's such a good advice to look at your life, seeing what can cultivate a sense of discipline for you, that makes you feel empowered, that makes you feel, wow, look at, if I can do, for instance, if you use the exercise concept, if I can get up at 5 in the morning and I continue doing this, you can literally see, like, in a few weeks one can experience a difference in one's body. Absolutely. And that really change your thinking habits with regards to, wow, if I can do this, I can definitely translate this to, what am I thinking, what am I allowing, what should I think less about, what should I allow, what shouldn't I allow. So definitely that kind of habits that helps us improve and keep focused. The habits that helps us to focus in life. That exercise is definitely a big one. But so I like the advice that you said, that everybody must find, whether that's exercise for some, it might be something else for somebody else. But that's good. Seeing it in a way that that helps you realize what you're able to do, and to keep on doing that in other areas of your life. That's growth. So that's cool. So anything else that you want to share?
No, I just the fact that God really created us for a purpose, and He really has good plans for us. The reality, the meditation on that simple truth, the reminder of that simple truth, they're driven by expectation. We can really expect the good. Don't give up, don't settle, don't stop at life.
Wow.
Just constantly discover God at work somewhere in your purpose. God really is never telling me to do something. He's always with me or leading me in something. So just the expectation of the good. The awareness that God really is at work with me, around me, through me.
Sure.
And it's really helpful.
It's to set your mind on that.
I can pour myself out because God is doing it with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for spending your time and investing your time with us. And thanks guys for watching.